Woke video games and woke media have failed. And they have failed because people do not like the messaging that these products push out, and the overall quality of the products that they have been releasing has also shown a steep decline in quality, specifically in the mainstream entertainment. And because of those two issues, woke games and media in general has pretty much been universally hated online. And it has gotten so bad that if people who work at these entertainment studios are publicly woke online, then the projects they are a part of will instantly get a lot of hate and scrutiny. The skepticism we see people give to these projects is honestly warranted, because you have to be blind, deaf, stupid, and delusional to not see that the quality of our mainstream entertainment has been getting worse and worse. The idea of this video is to dig deeper into how and why these entertainment conglomerates are continuing to fail at making products that people want. And I thought this video would be good because I find it to be real interesting to hear about, with gaming specifically, how much money and time is being spent on these projects and how they just end up flopping because they run, play, and are written like garbage. With that said, if you have your own thoughts, make sure to comment, because I may always be right, but my words are not gospel, and I can definitely miss something or just be plain wrong. With the intro done, let's first talk about the quality of video games, because it's been getting bad in the AAA industry. I'm using Halo for footage, so let's use it as an example. When Halo 3 came out in 2007, we had career progression at launch, multiple unique game modes to choose from at launch, armor colors we could pick like white, emblems we can make with the emblem maker. We immediately got Forge when the game came out, and the menus in the game worked fine. Halo Infinite, which released in 2021 for comparison, took about 2 years to finally give us career progression, and when the career progression finally came out, everyone had to start out as a recruit, regardless if you played 0 games of Halo Infinite or 10,000 games. Halo Infinite also lacked the diversity of game modes at launch to choose from, so someone like me who hated objective game modes was forced to play something like CTF instead of just plain Jane Slayer, because the only option was essentially Team Arena or Big Team Arena. 343 also decided to strip down player customization so they could monetize it lazily in the shop, so instead of the great emblem maker, we get crappy nameplates instead. And we don't even get to choose the nameplate colors ourselves anymore, like we could with Halo 5, the previous Halo title. And instead of choosing our own armor colors, we have armor coatings, which is just a simplified armor color system that takes the customization choice from the player, just like the nameplates, so that 343 could charge $20 to buy the color white. And lastly, we waited a whole year for Forge to come out, and when it finally did, it still had a lot of bugs, and people that I knew that forged on it were having a terrible time because of those serious issues. Now, I made that long comparison to show my point, and you can compare Halo 4 to Infinite or Halo 5 to Infinite, and you will see how the quality of the game has gotten worse and worse as time progressed. And Halo isn't the only example. Just look up Dragon Age, Battlefield, Call of Duty, Diablo, World of Warcraft, or most AAA games to notice the trend. I do believe wokeness is particularly responsible, and some commenters on my previous video on this subject talked about how they push woke policies and hire activists to create these abominations. And I 100% agree with that. Wokeness has been shown to not help improve the quality of the game. In fact, I would say that these hiring practices and policies have overtly done more harm than good. But in my last video, which did ruffle some feathers, I said it wasn't the core issue. I believe the big issue lies all the way at the top with executives and shareholders, because they are more interested in making short-term profit than making a good game that the players will love. They are more interested in hiring contractors for 6 months than to hire full-time workers that they'll have to give benefits to. And they are more interested in exploiting the woke, LGBT, BLM, or any other minority group to make money. And they do this looking like they care about you guys, but in reality they don't. In my experience, as someone who is employed and worked many jobs in different fields, I believe all issues ultimately lie at the top of the corporate food chain, and they tend to seep down to the middle managers and then eventually the grunts. Wokeness would not be an issue if the top wigs didn't want it, but they obviously do, or else it wouldn't be there. And I know I've mainly talked games since it's what I know best. But if you want movie and TV show examples, check out current Marvel, Star Wars, Halo, or Netflix The Witcher to see the same type of issues in different forms of media other than just video games. Now with point one over, let's talk about the messaging of woke media because that is also important. The writing in woke media is really bad, and if it wasn't bad, then people would not abhor it the way they do. I have seen snippets of Dragon Age Veilguard, and those scenes I have witnessed are hard to watch. I saw The Last Jedi in movie theaters, and it was hard watching Poe get neutered and pooped on the whole movie by Leia and Holdo. And I saw what they did to the Halo TV series, and even though I love the memes that the plasma posters made, the disrespect and lack of care Paramount and 343 overtly showed to Halo while making the TV series was insane. And I'm not saying it had to be a one-on-one with the books and games, but come on, it was dog water. The idea that the Halo TV series was not for the Halo fans, but for the broader audience is business illiterate. Halo already has general audience appeal. That is why it was the flagship for Xbox and one of the biggest gaming series of the 2000s. And the reason it's not as popular as it is anymore is because 343 as a studio couldn't make a proper Halo game, even if their gender identities were on the line. Now let's get back on point. A part of the issue is most definitely wokeness. But I actually feel the bigger issue is ego. All these project leads do not respect the IPs they are in charge of. From what I've seen, they have the classic I can do it better than the source material mentality, and in the case of the Halo TV show, all they did was make an abomination that is pretending to be Halo. And I just want to iterate, wokeness is most definitely a part of the issue, but I personally feel that ego is actually the biggest issue. Because even if they did not make woke media, they still cannot write, tell a story, or make characters that are humans and not caricatures. It's easy to spot terrible storytelling with woke activists since they are more interested in making propaganda rather than telling a good story, which is why they cannot write a compelling story using their beliefs and morals to save their lives. You can have diversity, inclusion, and politics in movies, games, TV shows, books, or whatever, but you have to execute those ideas well and write politics in your story in a manner that feels natural and not like a preacher yelling at the side of the street that the end times are near. I have had comments in my last video on this topic talking about this, and some of them were talking about the fact that Baldur's Gate 3 had woke stuff, but they still enjoyed the game. I have not played Baldur's Gate 3 myself, so you'll have to let me know in the comments if that's true. But I can say Halo is super diverse and inclusive with all sorts of minority groups, but it was never done in a forceful, cringe way that was ultra apparent and phony. An approximation of a phrase you will see people say is that they miss when the media they like was not political. But as people point out, entertainment was always political, but what they fail to mention is that the writing for things like Star Wars, Halo, Fallout, or whatever you enjoy, put the politics messaging in their story well. Halo, for example, had the Covenant, which is a crazy religious conglomerate of aliens bent on ending humanity, that was written to criticize religious extremism and blind faith. And no one complained about it because it was written well and done tastefully. I believe any idea can be put into a story if the idea is written with care and not done forcefully and awkwardly like The Last Jedi did with Canto Bight. But the ego of these people in charge of storytelling in our games and movies will not allow them to see that they are not God's gift to Earth and that they can improve and take some constructive criticism once in a while. I also had a comment saying on my last woke video that it sounded like I had an agenda, and I pinned that comment because it was a great comment. But in all seriousness, I obviously do have an agenda, beyond me wanting you, the viewer, to like the video and subscribe to my channel. I want Halo to be good again. And I'm not saying I want Halo to be as popular as it was back in like 2004 or 2007. But I want Halo to be a respectable entertainment series that people have a positive impression of. And it sucks that the series is a shell of its former self because of corporate greed and incompetence. The interest in Halo is there, and most people want a good Halo game. For example, there was a lot of hype around Halo Infinite before launch. I had my friends who didn't play a whole lot of Halo at the time talking about it a lot with me. But 343 and Microsoft has not delivered a respectable product, which really sucks because it drove those friends of mine away from Halo again. And I'm sure I'm not alone with a similar experience like that. I just want good games and not woke industry slop. So let me know in the comments your thoughts, opinions, or whatever. Thank you for watching the video, and
I'm sorry, sir. It's time for you to leave.